We started back in 1984, just looking at state facilities, and kind of over the years have polished this process of energy savings performance contracting that we do at the state. In 1996, the legislature said, hey, this is working great for state facilities. Let's open it up to all public entities in the state. So that's when we started working with school districts and municipalities. And then just lately, we had a project going with the University of Washington that was just a water conservation project. And we've been doing water conservation mixed with energy projects. Their attorneys were worried about, well, it doesn't specifically say water, so the legislature added that in 2007. So we can do water, energy, of course, but also look at projects that save on any utilities except for like telephones. So if you have garbage utilities and things like that, conservation programs. So this is the RCW, this 3935. There's a 3935A and C, but this just talks about how the Department of General Administration has a responsibility to assist municipalities in identifying available performance contracting. We actually pre-qualify the energy service companies. We have 13 pre-qualified where we've gone out and advertised, selected these energy service companies, so we maintain that registry. So energy savings performance contracting, it's a way of identifying, constructing, and financing energy and utility conservation projects. So we take it from soup to nuts, from the very beginning, just going through all the way through the monitoring and verification after the project's all done, so all the way through. Much like what was mentioned before, we look at trying to come up with projects. If you don't have any money, we can still come up with projects because you're paying your utility bills, we hope. We'll use that savings to pay for the projects. And one of the things it does is it eliminates a lot of the risks with the design bid build process. If you've been in construction before, public construction, sometimes when you get that low bidder, it's not always the cheapest way to go, and the legislature recognized that and wanted to reduce the risk, so we look at a best value approach. And so I'll talk a little bit more about what that is, how that works. So the low bid is not required. So as I mentioned, it looked at a best value. Then the other thing that we can do is if you've got subcontractors that you don't want to see on your property anymore, we don't have to bid to them. So we try to come up with a set of subcontractors that would be acceptable to the public entity, and we can just bid to them. So that's a real nice feature of our program. Same thing with equipment. So if you want to get a certain chiller that you like, it's good if we can get a bidding situation. You know, you're acceptable to maybe 2 different pieces of equipment, but we don't have to open it up to every equipment vendor. The other thing is that we have a guaranteed maximum cost. So at the end of what we call an investment grade audit, you know what the cost of that project's going to be. If it goes over that cost, the ESCO will pay that difference. If the costs come in under, the public entity gets to save that money. So there's no cost sharing on saving on first cost. On the energy saving side, the savings is shown in that study, the investment grade audit. If after a year those savings don't materialize, the ESCO makes up the difference. So it's a pretty good program in protecting you up front to make sure that those savings are there to make the payments to state treasurer or whoever you're using for financing. And the equipment performance is guaranteed as well. Obviously, if you've been putting a lot of baling wire and duct tape on your equipment to keep it going and hiring people to come in and maintain that equipment, when you get new equipment, there's going to be less maintenance. Those lamps and ballasts, you won't have to change them for 3 to 5 years. We bring everything up to code, so if you've had poor indoor air quality because there's bad air mixing, we would improve and correct those problems. And we have financing available through the state treasurer that's now opened up to any public entity in the state. And what we try to do is package projects so that you actually have a little bit of a positive cash flow after doing the projects. Types of projects we can do, you can read through those hopefully, but we've done, I think one of the weirdest things that we did was the Port of Sunnyside wanted to have a solar pump to agitate their wastewater treatment plant. So that became part of the project. So that was kind of an unusual request. So we work with you to look at what are things that you want to do. If you want to do some solar, and then what are the things that you have are problem pieces of equipment, and then we just would assess what the energy saving measures would be and look at payback and costs. So steam lines, water conservation, irrigation, all sorts of different types of projects. One of the things I think that have a large potential that we haven't really done a whole lot with are wastewater treatment plants and municipal water systems. You know, you've got leaks out there in your system, you're pumping a lot of extra water. Wastewater treatment plants are probably one of your highest energy using facilities. So those are definitely good candidates for energy projects. This is graphically showing that here you are cruising along in your current situation, paying your bills. We can come in and structure a project so that it lowers your energy bills. We'll use a portion of that to pay off a loan that you might take, and then you have a little bit left over. So after doing the project, you can actually come out ahead of the game. Another thing we try to do is maximize your utility incentives. PSC's been real good at doing that, providing good incentives. I think that we're taxing their program. There's a lot of conservation going on out there that we're working with.
We've had to ramp up staff.
So different financing options. The energy service companies can come up with financing. Usually it's not the best, so with municipalities, with public entities, usually the state treasurer's some of the best financing out there. School districts have something, QZAB, that's a good option too if it's a school district that's in a depressed area. Right now, state treasurer, last time they put out a bond, it came in at 2.91%, something like that. So it's some really good rates to the state treasurer right now. Department of Commerce for infrastructure loans, the infrastructure loan program, I think it's called. They have 0.5% interest rate on that money. And then as some of you local governments out there have seen, have taken advantage of, there's some federal grants out there. Hopefully we might see more of that once the federal government gets around to energy again. Just looking at our program, what we've done, it's hard to keep track because all these things are changing. Every month we get new customers and new projects that get completed. But we do a lot of work, and we've got, let's see if I got this on the next slide. Well, there's 11 engineers that are project managers in our group now. We just hired 2 more. And we have 2 people, or actually 3 people in Spokane, and then the 8 of us are in Olympia. This is just an example of a project. We work with South Kitsap School District, a swimming pool heat recovery project, and then some lighting throughout the district. And the numbers on that was $240,000 of savings annually. I think this is probably the PSE grant that came out, was $466,000. We've had one as high as, I think $1.5 million was our biggest one through PSE for a cogen project down at wastewater treatment plant in Olympia. So there's some, the PSE is really good at participating in these projects. These are some of the entities I'm working with. You can see the list back in the back if you want to look through those in my handouts. Just quickly, the procedure here for how our program works. We put together an interagency agreement that we'll have you sign and get started. There's an ESCO selection, like I mentioned, we have 13 of them. We go through a preliminary and an investment grade audit phase, then we get into construction, and then afterwards we do the monitoring and verification for at least 1 year, but we prefer at a minimum 3 years, but it could go on as long as 10 years if that's, you know, you have a 10-year loan. There's our website where you can get some more information. This is the local program with the state treasurer. And that's my presentation. Are we going to have a little discussion right now?
We are.
Okay.
You're still on the hook.
Okay.
One round of applause here, please.